Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Arrow after show. We are going to be, for this season of Arrow Season 2, we've decided that we want to do an after show and just talk about our thoughts and get what you guys think about it as well. Hopefully you can jump down to the comments of our YouTube video here and dialogue with us about what you thought of Arrow Season 1. I'm going to let my wife here, Anne, introduce our guest. But first of all, I'm going to introduce my wife, Anne.
Hey, everybody. What's up?
That's
Welcome
a great.
back.
That's a great Green Arrow shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Classic Oliver Queen.
Yes, I think we're heading in that direction. But season 2 has started, and I'm here to introduce my beautiful friend to my right, Kaori Take.
Hey guys, Team Amazing.
Team Amazing. Okay, so let's get started. Short and sweet. I loved this episode of Arrow.
I agree.
Yes.
I liked it a lot. And here's the main thing. I'm sure we're going to go into a bunch of things, a bunch of smaller details. But the overall thing that I really liked about this episode and about this season is it felt to me like a lot of times certain TV shows will go from one season to the next, and it's like the first season never happened. You know, it's just like, oh, so everything that you just did in the first season meant nothing. And I'll be honest with you, I felt that way about The Walking Dead at the end of season 1. It's like, oh, so this whole season was about nothing. Mm-hmm. And we go into season 2, and it's like they're starting from scratch one. I felt like in this episode that season 2 of Arrow has progressed now. They've moved on from most of the things in season 1, and now it's a new chapter. And without feeling like it's a completely different show. It still feels like the same show, the same characters, and that they've moved into whole new issues, a whole new era, a new chapter for the series. So I really like that anyways. And what are your first kind of initial thoughts about the show? What stood out to you the most?
I agree. I think there was a lot of growth in Oliver's character. This was really an Oliver Queen episode. And we see that time has passed, since the season finale of season 1 and starting with season 2. And there has been a time lapse, but you can see that, again, they're picking up right where they left off from season 1. And to me, it felt really like picking up the next issue of a comic book. I don't know if you guys felt that way, but it continued right where it left off. But you could, like I said, you could really see the potential and see the growth in all the characters.
Kaori, what do you think?
I loved this episode. I'm more than satisfied. I'm very pleased with this season opener. I think it's great. Felicity looks smoking, and then we've got everyone grew up. You have Moira, who's in jail, but she has more power, kind of. I know that's kind of weird, but she's more controlled with herself now. She's more satisfied. She's come to terms with herself. Then we got Thea, who's more of an adult. She's running a club. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things are changing. So I'm really excited to see what season 2 has in store for us.
I've spent a lot of time today complaining about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but because I watched the 3rd episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. today, and just let me say, it's so nice coming out of that pile of crap to watching a well-done comic book-based television show. And, here's the thing that Arrow gets. I'm watching this show, and it stood out to me. This is what Arrow gets that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't get. Stories are about characters. And Arrow understands that. And it's about Queen. It's about Oliver. And it focuses sometimes on those characters around him, but it's always character driven. Yes, it's about the Green Arrow, and yes, it's about him fighting crime, and yeah. But at the core of it, it's about this character, Oliver Queen, and it never loses sight of that. If you've watched season 1, which if you're watching this, I'm assuming you've seen season 1. This is a show that never loses sight of that. That you start with the character. And they've done such a great job building up this character and letting us... I mean, we're into season 2 now, and we still know that we don't know everything about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's always... Everything that he does has a reason. There's a connection to his past and the way they time jump and all that kind of stuff. And it's really nice to see that he's grown even more. He's now into that next stage of evolution of himself. And that was really, really cool to see. But yeah, a lot of things have jumped around. We've seen all the characters... positions have changed. And when you're looking at the episode now, what side character, other than Oliver, stood out to you the most as really having a shift of gears happen?
Ooh. I think the improvement in Thea. In season 1, she was okay. Again, they're supporting characters, so, their role is really minimal in comparison to Oliver, Thea being the sister. But in season 1, to me, she was just the whiny, bratty sister. And she didn't really have a purpose. And I see something now. I see a direction in the character, obviously the growth and her, like you said, running the bar, taking over the club, having that kind of drama and conflict about how she feels about Moira being in prison. And I like it. I do. I'm starting to feel a little bit of attachment to her. And then, okay, the Roy and Thea love story I could do without still. I still hasn't grown on me yet.
I'm okay with it.
But Thea, yeah, I'm starting to like that character quite a bit.
How about you, Kara?
Well, I would like to say Felicity because now she's totally okay with murder or killing. But if it is so, I would say definitely Laurel Lance, right? I mean, she is definitely, if she is the Black Canary, which she should be, but if she is, I mean, I'm really happy that she came out like that in season 2, opening like that. I really like it. So,
I guess the one thing, I mean, I really did enjoy the episode a lot. I really like that they brought back his stepdad. Right at the end, then that was a really nice thing for them to do. It was nice to see. Hopefully, he's going to be a recurring character in the shows moving forward. The one thing that I didn't like was, look, I'm not one of these guys who I'm like, oh, make all heroes dark, make them dark. I'm not one of those guys at all. Not one of those guys at all. But it feels like a bit of a cop-out, this whole thing. Now let's take Arrow. He's going to try to not kill anybody. It's like, nah, that's dumb. I don't like that direction. And I'm hoping it's just a plot device and he gets over that pretty soon. Because I'm sorry, like, known murderers, people who just murder the mayor, had his sister. And I think Oliver would have offed the guy who was about to kill his sister. And I hope they get past that. I really do.
I think it's a kind of believable because he just saw his best friend die.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and a lot of things just happened. So he probably at the moment doesn't feel that death is the right way. I mean, they kept emphasizing that he needs to honor his best friend. So maybe that's why for the time being, he just can't. And I'm okay with that storyline for now.
I think it's really hard for me to imagine if they go into this storyline of him not offing people or killing people. How do you get out of it then?
I think he's going to have to.
To me, I feel like they need to be consistent. And if they're going to go that way, they need to stay that way for the entire rest of the show.
Maybe when the Dark Archer comes back.
Yeah.
Because we know he's coming back at some point in the season.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that's when Oliver decides, you know what? Killing's fun. I'm going to kill
again. Not as bad
again.
as I thought.
Why did I stop this? This is way easier.
You know, but they've got that whole kind of, it reminded me of Boondock Saints, you know, like give me a reason to hurt people or give me a reason to kill, or as a viewer, you know, let the viewer be justified as to why Oliver has to hurt somebody.
And I like how when one character is emotionally weak, like in this case, Oliver right now, you have Diggle and Felicity there to pick him up and make him stronger. And last season, it was vice versa, where Felicity was scared of killing people or doing anything against the law. And now it's kind of the opposite. So they're helping each other. And I love that. I love that.
As a team, I love the camaraderie there.
And you know, when they first started bringing Felicity into the circle a bit, I didn't know how I felt about that last season.
Right.
I thought, okay, he's Oliver Queen. First, he started off as the lone guy, Oliver Queen. And then they brought in Diggle, which I resisted at first, but then I kind of grew attached to it. Then they started bringing Felicity. I'm like, I don't like this. We don't need him to have the super friends. But I kind of became okay with it by the end of season 1. And for whatever reason, now in this episode in season 2, I think it works.
Yeah.
I think it works. It makes sense because Felicity becomes the balance to Oliver that he needs. Diggle was never the balance for him. Diggle was always his support. He was there for him because Oliver needed somebody. He needed to learn that he needed somebody to have his back. But I guess what the showrunners knew that I didn't realize at first in season 1 was that Oliver, being as dark as he is, really, he needed somebody else to be that balance for him. And now that I see what they're doing with them as a collective in season 2, it's like, oh yeah, now I see that. She's a great balance for him. So yeah, I was really happy about that.
I think there's a parallel there. I mean, by the way, I'm really glad that they still flash back to the island.
Me too.
I personally, I love when they go back. But I think there's a parallel between the trio that we see now, Diggle, Felicity, and Oliver, Shadow, and Slade. I think it was kind of the same thing back on the island. He learned a lot from Slade, and then obviously in this episode we see he's falling in love with Shadow, but there's an emotional kind of attachment that he has to both of those characters as well.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. And I'm interested to see who is going to be the main villain of this world, because we got introduced to, what was her name again?
Oh, River. I mean,
Isabel.
We just know it's River Tam.
Let's just call her River, but Isabel. I believe
Isabel, right.
She runs this competing corporation that's trying to take over Queen Industries.
But I don't know that they're going to set. I don't think she's going to play a big villainous role. At least I don't think so. I think right now we haven't yet met this season's Dark Archer. And we know the Dark Archer's coming back, but I don't think he's going to be the big main threat. Whatever. I think. And I've purposefully not read in the off season. I haven't followed all the news on Arrow. So I don't know any of the inside stuff. I wanted to go into the season.
Secrets.
Yeah, I wanted to go with a clean slate. So, I mean, we don't yet know, okay, what is the overarching nemesis of season 2? Don't know yet. Maybe it'll be, I don't know. Any ideas on that? Any theories?
I have a theory, and this is based off of this season. this opener is that Black Canary might go against him as
You
Arrow.
think? Really?
She might go rogue.
Well, yeah, she wants to kill him.
What?
if it is Laurel, which it should be. So, I mean, and if it is Laurel, it makes Katie Cassidy exponentially more interesting for me.
I know, because you weren't a big fan of that
I was
character
not
in
a
season
fan.
1, right?
No, not at all.
But they did show her kind of fight a little bit in her dress. And then so if she is the Black Canary, at least we can see that the growth in her physical abilities.
I don't buy it. Because I think there's a difference between I took some self-defense classes to what we saw Black Canary do in that alleyway.
But she has a father who
cannot do what she just did. I mean that to me, I think that would be a real stretch. I think that would be asking us to believe an awful lot if this girl is, I've just decided to be a badass and now I can take out 8 guys in an alley by myself.
Well, let's be fair. There's a couple stretches in this show, right?
Sure,
This
yes.
one would be hard to believe.
This one, though, would be very difficult to believe. I think it's got to be a new character, at least. But who knows? You may be right. All right, so before we wrap this up, let's just sum it up. Close this off. We'll start with you, Kaori. What stood out to you about this episode, and has it made you more look forward to the season? Has it hampered your enthusiasm? Where are you at right now with Arrow?
I am extremely excited about season 2. I think I couldn't have asked for a better season premiere, because it really, really showcased where everyone is and everyone's standpoint at this point. And I'm just excited. So I'm really happy about it. I'm really happy. Couldn't have asked for a better episode.
Anne?
Ditto on the excitement factor. It was really, really good. I'm very impressed. I think they have the right people involved in creating the show. You could see that the DC universe is starting to open up very slowly. Look at the growth in the characters, but also in the preview for next episode, you see more and more characters are being brought back or introduced. So there's a lot left to come, and I'm excited.
Yeah, and seeing Michael Jai White in the preview was really exciting.
Black Dynamite.
We're all like, I want him as Black Dynamite. That'd be so cool.
He's changing his name.
He's chasing him to Black Dynamite.
And let's not forget the Deathstroke mask that they flash back to again. They're not going to let that go yet.
No, I think they have a lot they're going to do with Deathstroke. I have no doubt. Whether it's going to be Slade, they may throw us a curveball and it'll have nothing to do with Slade. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of things they could do. But yeah, I mean, I really do love this is a first episode of the season. They covered a lot of ground. Both the fact that he was so affected by the death of Tommy, he went back to the island. Mm-hmm. He comes back, taking over the family business, taking out, the pretenders, calling themselves the Hood, kind of establishing what he wants his whole purpose to be. They've done all that in one episode. And I'm encouraged by it. I'm excited about it. And once again, I don't mean to harp on it, but we were going to do 2 after shows this year. We were going to do an after show for Arrow, and we were going to do an after show for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And after we watched the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we were like, I'm not going to do an after show on this show. This is terrible.
I think that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. writers and creators need to sit down and watch this season premiere of Arrow to get some pointers on how they need to run their show.
Yeah, we don't need them to be the same. We don't need them to be the same show, but just understand. I'm not going to go into the whole thing.
Watch his review if you want to learn more.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Anyway, so that'll do it for us guys for this first after show. Let us know what you think. Should we continue doing these or should we not? What did you think of this first episode? What did you like about it? What are your concerns? Where do you think we're going? All that kind of stuff. And we'll be back again to do it again next week. So, Kaori, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Kaorious, Kaorious.
And Anne, where can people find you online?
Mine's a lot more boring than that. You can find me online at my name, Anne Campea.
And you can find me online on Twitter, Facebook, wherever else, at John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. And until the next episode of Arrow, we'll see you then.